What's good? So as I said at the end of entry 5, I'm just going to continue on in this entry showing the second half of what we did during our trip to Gorée Island, accompanied by some narration, and then what happened afterwards to finish off my day 2 in Dakar, Senegal.
Get closer. Get closer.
Here, Ikhlas has a camera and he's trying to give me some direction, but you can just see in my eyes, for whatever reason, I just couldn't get into it. In this scene here, I must have been leaning against the wall at some point. I'm trying to get some different shots, but you see I have that chalky looking dust on the back of my hat. And again, these are issues that occur from being understaffed. You know, if you have a bigger team or a bigger staff, you may have a person just for wardrobe, because the bigger your team is, the bigger, you know, the more eyes you have watching and the more jobs you have for each individual person to handle. So, you know, if you had a wardrobe person, they will point that out and say, look, Taj, you got, you know, dust on your back, on the back of your hat. Let me get that off. Or even just making sure your clothes are laying right for every scene. You know, your shirt might be wrinkled up wrong on your shoulder, like little things like that. You know, professional videos, there's a person who does takes care of every little detail. So I'm out here with, you know, 2 guys who have no film experience and myself trying to make sure I'm looking at all these details, and obviously that's not going to work, and you're going to wind up with a bunch of scenes that you can't use. That particular scene right there, obviously, I probably wouldn't use that scene when I'm walking, because I'm just walking to set myself up. But there may be some scenes where I turn around. In fact, there are, where you'll see later, I turn around, and you see all this dust on the back of me. You got to throw that out. It's just a wasted scene, you know? So here, you know, just another of the many different shots we try to get. It's too dark. I'm probably not going to be able to use that, but, you know, then again, you might be able to find some creative purpose for it. This is the door of no return, and these shots weren't too bad. It's just that I just didn't like my energy at all. So you can probably tell that these were holding cells for the slaves, and they had diagrams and descriptions along the way that explain what each cell was for and the extreme conditions that these slaves endured. And then they would, you know, go through that door of no return and be on their way to the transatlantic slave trade. And it was just interesting to be in that environment and shooting a video, getting those experiences at the same time. Now, something happened once we finished shooting at the door of no return. First of all, Sergey knew a lot of people on this island for whatever reason. I don't know whether he just had a great gift of gab, was a gregarious person, or whether he just really knew these people. But when we first got to the slave house, he introduced us to the guy who runs the slave house, and he explained to him what we were there for and everything. And the guy was like, oh, he was very hospitable, said, oh, you know, do what you got to do. Take care of your business. So that's what we did. And, you know, there were people from all over the world, obviously, who come to these places and visit. You know, we could hear them speaking different languages or whatnot, Europeans or whatever. You know, and a lot of them have tour guides. We didn't need a tour guide because we were there to shoot a video. So apparently one of the workers there, tour guide, noticed that we were shooting at this door of no return without a tour guide and took some type of offense to it and approached Sergey about it. They got into this almost violent yelling match, sort of like creating a scene. So I cut in like, what's the problem here, right? Then he turns his aggression towards me, starts kind of like almost yelling at me a little bit and saying something about, you know, slavery and you need a tour guide, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, like, I know about slavery. Like, I'm African American. I know about slavery, whatever. And he just, oh, okay, and walks off. And, you know, I kind of, you know, at first took a little bit of offense to it for obvious reasons, but, you know, they don't know who I am, where I'm from, what my history is. You know, so, you know, the Senegalese people can just generally be a little bit aggressive as far as offering their services, as I explained in one of the earlier blog entries when I first got off the plane. You know, the taxi drivers or the, you know, money exchange people. You got this example here. But, you know, they see an American, European, whatever, they see it as an opportunity to make a little bit of money. And, you know, they go hard at it. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, this is just what the culture is. It just takes some getting used to. You know, just like if you go anywhere in the world, they have their own culture, their customs, their ways of behaving. And, you know, you just got to adjust and get used to it, you know?
Blocking the view.
Totally?
It's blocking the view.
Totally blocking the view?
Yeah.
Oh, just see you're saying that. it. Oh, alright, yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's on. It's on.
Here I'm asking, you know, I asked Siri if it's focused, and he says, or I'm not sure what he said, and he takes a picture. And again, I still don't know whether he ever knew what focus meant, and I could have been a little bit distracted by that, but my energy is just way off because I'm probably thinking about all of these different things, like, are we getting this footage? Does the footage look right? Am I shooting this for no reason? You know, did I come to Gorée Island just waste footage? And, you know, my mind was off, so my delivery was off, my energy was off.
Okay, go.
Ready? Huh?
Yeah.
Obviously poor focus, bad lighting here. And this scene, I'm a little bit angry at Iklas in this scene because of his little beef, whatever was going on with him and Serday. Serday was actually in this shot originally, and he was doing some good stuff, like trying to raise the energy, dancing and stuff in the background. Iklas cut him out of the scene. He was the camera person at the time, and he zoomed in, moved the, you know, shifted his angle a little bit, and cut Serday out of the scene. And when I looked at it, I didn't know until I looked at the footage later, and I'm like, what happened to the shot? That's one of the main things I was looking for, and it was cut out. Obviously, here the lighting's still not too good. With bigger staff you have, of course, lights people. But, you know, again, some scenes you may be able to use this stuff for creatively, you know, but you don't want to overdo the bad shots thing because people will catch on at some point.
What is your name? Wow, Ikhlas. You know what I say?
Taji Muslim. Muslim.
This guy was off to the side in the darkness. Apparently the whole time we were trying to get this scene in, and he comes over, comes out of the darkness and starts talking our heads off. A very excitable guy. He seemed to be all about brotherhood. You did have those Senegalese you came across every now and then that recognized the brotherhood with their brothers and sisters in America and around the world. I couldn't understand everything he was saying, so from what I gathered, he was about that. It was a nice little break from the shooting. Dude was cool. He was a little crazy, a little high probably, but it was all good. Record me walking.
Yeah.
Here there's this interesting walkway, and I'm giving directions to Serday about how to shoot me. But here you see I turn around, and there's that chalk on the back of my head that I talked about, and I think I had a little bit on my clothes too, so those weren't usable shots. By this time we had walked around pretty much the entire island. Iklas is getting cranky, he wants to go, getting a little annoyed with Serday and everything. But we see this cannon, and they had this idea they want to go get inside this cannon.
You want to go inside?
Inside?
Yes, let's go inside.
What the hell? And now we chilling on top of a huge cannon. They talking about going inside. You can see the staircase, the ladder right there. You can actually go all the way down.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if I'm gonna try to do that. Alright, I guess I'm going inside. Here, just doing more shots. These are largely Serday's idea. Like, he envisioned himself a director, so he just kept on coming up with ideas to do things. Of course, I went along and did it because number one, I needed a director, and number two, why not? Like, I might get lucky and get a good shot in there somewhere. But all of the stuff here was Serday's idea. Just trying different things, you know. I didn't know what he was doing half the time until I went home and looked at the footage. Once we got back from Gorée and we're now back in the city of Dakar, we had to get a taxi to go home. And this became a bit of a problem because the taxis were charging tourist prices, basically. So we had to try different tactics and ways around it. First, I went off somewhere to make it look like I wasn't with Serday and Iklas, and left them to look for a taxi. And they still couldn't find one that would come down on the prices. So then we had Iklas go off because Iklas could potentially be seen as, you know, a foreigner of some kind. He looks a little bit different. So Sirde would he still couldn't get the taxi to come down on the prices. So then we just put together, this is a tourist area and they're just gonna charge everybody outlandish prices. But there was a police guy off to the side somewhere observing what was going on in one of the situations where Sirde was kind of going back and forth with one of the taxi drivers trying to get their prices to come down. He came over and asked what was going on, and I guess Sirde explained it to him, and he yelled at the taxi driver to lower his fare prices. And we were cool, like we got in the car, you know, the guy was cool too. The whole ride he's talking to Sirde the whole time. But it was funny, I didn't expect that, the law enforcement guy to come over and make the taxi driver come down his prices, but that was kind of cool. But it turns out, the taxi was dirt cheap. It was like $3 American. Like, if I had known that, I would've been like, I'll just pay that. It's not a big deal. Prices of things in Senegal I had come to understand the longer I was there were dirt cheap, like for everything. Anyway, when we got back to around the area where we were staying, where I was staying at, I had one of the most interesting nights the whole time I was there because my niece and my nephew participate. Actually, all three of them, my niece and both my nephews, participate in capoeira, which is like a form of martial arts that combines acrobatics, dance, and music. They're not allowed to like really hit each other. So I observed that for like the next hour and a half until the sun went down a little bit. Met some cool people and everything. They had some other Africans come there from, I think, Gambia. I think they were from Gambia, and they were talking about the brotherhood of Africa, and that was cool to hear because sometimes I feel like there's too much division between the countries in Africa. From, you know, the brothers in different countries, they kind of separate themselves. So it was cool to see that exists too, that united brotherhood of all of Africa. And even talk to me as if I was one of them as well. So, you know, that was cool. And so I'll just take you out to the end of this vlog entry with the sounds and images of capoeira.